What I'm gonna do is we're just go through the manual, certain sections. We're not gonna go through every one of them, and we'll cover all of the safety areas of this manual and some of the basic stuff that I think you guys need to know about. So we're gonna make it a fairly quick one. Usually it's about 30 to 40 minutes, so hang tight. But it is important for you guys to know all of this information so that you can safely operate the equipment. So the purpose for this manual is it basically contains the guidelines for setup, safety, operations, maintenance, and service of the equipment provided. So it is very important that you guys do sit down and read the manual, learn it, so that way if anything comes up, you guys are fully prepared and ready to act based on the information you got from the manual books and from the training. It is, like I said, it is a guideline, so you are strongly recommended to read it and know it. So there are instructions on how to properly load the trailers, how to properly maintain it, and on and on and on. So there's a lot of good information available in this manual. So we do have a good customer support base. We also have some procedures on how you would go about returning the parts, whatever. If something breaks, it's always a good idea to call us first, let us know what's going on, so that way we can properly address the issue and then do a process for customer down situations, parts, whatever. There's, like for returning parts, there's an RMA process, right? So you have to call us, get an RMA number, to deal with the warranty parts and stuff like that. But it's very important to let us know right away if something goes down. I'm not talking about little things. If there is an issue that you think you can resolve real quick, go ahead. But some of the major issues, if something breaks down, cylinder issues, whatever, right, we would like to be reported right away so we can process it as quickly as.
Contact person would be Rick.
Rick, yep, and then or
you guys,
or us directly. So we have on our customer service team, we have me, Keith. You guys probably know Keith, right? Yeah. Keith Cross, little short guy. So it'd be basically me, Keith, or directly to Rick, and then Rick will come to us basically.
We would just contact Rick. We contact the shop, and the shop contact you guys.
Okay. And then that's probably an appropriate way of handling things. If you guys have a setup procedure, then definitely follow it.
Okay.
So this machine does obviously have a warranty. It's a main structure this is just for your information. So main structure is a 1 year, and then all of your hydraulic cylinders, the C-ram, E-rams, they're basically 2-year warranty. But that's based on following the procedures in the books as far as PM schedule and stuff like that. So
I think we have an extended warranty that we purchased also in this.
yep, yeah, I forgot to mention that on the last meeting we had. Yeah. So I think it's like a 3-year, probably. 5, okay. Well, there you go, 5 years.
So I got a question about I understand the PM schedule,
Mm-hmm.
But we also have an inspection schedule. We do a daily inspection,
Mm-hmm.
Which only pretty much from my understanding, basically just walking around the machine, you're checking for leaks
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of stuff, but there's nothing that you're doing. You're not turning wrenches, you're just checking for leaks. So if there's a leak, then obviously we report that to the shop, and then they would, I guess, reach out to you guys or try to fix it themselves. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. The daily inspection is different from the actual PM. I mean, all we're doing is identifying and saying, hey, we discovered something.
Yep, and then there's on the screen, on the touch screen, there are, if you go into maintenance, it has a daily, weekly And so the daily obviously is for you guys as an operator to, keep an eye on the machine, and then yes, you won't be turning any wrenches or anything like that. You simply will identify it, recognize that there's an issue, and then obviously report that so it gets taken care of right away. So, but the daily, all of our PM schedule plus the daily I would recommend you guys, follow that. So, and do report things, and they need to be obviously taken care of right away. So
when you guys come up for your 750 hour, how many hour?
so it's 150 actually. The first one is going to be 150, so which is probably within a month once you guys start running. Well, probably more because of how many hours you guys would actually run that machine, because the hours it counts hours when the machine is actually doing something. So it's
not when it's sitting in idle or when it kicks itself off, it's not counting anything.
It's not counting anything. As long as the cylinders are moving, the motors are spinning, that's when it counts hours. So for you guys, it could be a few months actually, so before we come out here.
Does this get automatically reported to you through the system, or is that?
No, that's something that you guys would have to let us know.
Okay.
I mean, I hate to keep an eye on everybody. As far as remotely going into your units, we usually try to go in if you guys require us or ask of us to do that. So, but we're not there to constantly monitor that, so it's for you guys to do that. And the machine does have a counter for all of those services, the 150, the 750, the 3000 service, and then the miles for the ERAM and CRAM. So all of that is monitored on the screen for you guys to see. So it's again, it's up to you guys to let us know. So if you know that you're getting closer to that 150 mark, you would eventually call us, and then we'll set up a date and time. So there are, several safety symbols that you'll see on the machine. There are danger warnings throughout the machine, especially inside. You would never want to go inside without obviously locking out the machine. And there are safety built in. So if you decide to enter the machine, like through the back and whatnot, so there are safety doors with safety limit switches that will kill the machine if you decide to enter in. But the appropriate way is, do a lockout, tag out. So the machine does start automatically. It will start moving automatically. So you definitely do not want to be trying to climb inside or whatever, even in the HPU room, hydraulic power unit, where that sits. That will automatically start and stop, right? So there is a strobe light that's located on the HPU. So whenever that strobe light is flashing, so that's an indicator that HPU can start anytime. So, and this is specifically to this site. All of your other sites, they're different. So this site will allows for the operator to start and stop the HPU remotely. So that's the whole purpose of us installing the additional strobe light on the HPU, to let everyone know that you gotta be safe and be warned that HPU will start anytime. So as you guys have a lot of our machines, and I'm pretty sure that you guys already have a program established for, safe operations of the equipment through, site to site, and it may be slightly different site to site, or maybe you guys have a same program, consistent program site to site. But, that's up for you guys to decide. But definitely, if you have a safety I'm sorry, so the training program for all the operators, then the safety program, all of that should be followed. Again, our manual is a guidance, but you also would recommend that you guys have your own safety program, whatever, to work on the machine, to clean the machine, and it's very important, again, the lockout, tagout procedure. So we obviously recommend, there are certain things that you would never want to load the compactor with the material as far as explosives, really long pieces, anything that's longer than six feet. We usually would not recommend you put it in there, or if you do decide to put it in, you got to make sure it's way on the bottom. Otherwise, it's going to try to shear it, and if it can't shear, you're just wasting time. So it's always best if you minimize what you put. Like anything that's explosive. Obviously, you guys know, like the propane tanks, whatever, stuff like that. So definitely don't want to put in there. So stay away from trying to push like a water heater tanks, especially if you put it on the top and tries to shear or cut it. That's a guaranteed jam. That's a guaranteed jam. So each compactor has a motor starter panel with 2 breakers. So they would both have to be locked out. So both of those will have to be locked out for the safe entry into the system. So that's a must. If you just lock out one, the way this machine is built and the way it's configured, if you lock out one, there's obviously no chance that you'd be able to start it, but there is a possibility because there's still energy present. So, according to OSHA regulations, you literally have to eliminate all power source.
So those switches there, I'm sure it's the same ones. They got something on it where you do lock them out. So you can put a lock in there, right?
Yep, exactly. So you have to turn them off, and there's a locking mechanism that you push out, and you put your locks on it. So, and we'll when we do hands-on later, I will demonstrate that for you guys. So in this case, it's as far as electrical energy, this is the area where you need to lock it out. So once it's locked out here, you have no energy downstream. So anything with the control panel, at that point, there's no power. So that would be your single source of energy. Now, obviously, anything upstream of that, that's different. So you have to, if you think, well, for you guys, it wouldn't even matter. For an electrician, if he's doing some repair work, then he needs to go further. But for normal operations, this would be the main source. So there are several energies, stored energies. So that's electrical and hydraulic and also mechanical. And so obviously electrical we understand, hydraulic, anything that has pressure in the system, we would have to make sure that it's also eliminated. There are dump valves in the system that will automatically dump pressure when the power is off. So that's for there, but I usually recommend that you go in and push pin the solenoids manually. Victor, you probably know what I'm talking about, right? So, but it's done automatically for normal operations and you don't have to worry about it. So when you go in the system and you're doing cleanup, stuff like that, so the energy goes away automatically when the machine is off, when there's no power. So the other thing is mechanical, and what I mean by that is that if you, let's say if you have a load in the chamber and the machine somehow shut itself down while it was compacting, right? So at that point, that bale is going to try to expand. So it's actually going to push push the platen back. So you gotta make sure that you give it some time before you decide to go in, because it will push back and you'll feel it. So you gotta allow that machine to kind of sit a little bit and let it relax, and then go in and take care of what you have to do. So usually that's for when the machine gets jammed or something like that. So you gotta allow for some time for that to to go away. There is always an issue with thermal energy. It's usually has to do with temperatures, and sometimes when it's hot outside, especially the rod itself on the cylinder, it gets really hot to touch. So for cleaning purposes, like right after you're done, usually an operator or a cleaning person would want to fully extend it and go in from the front and start cleaning. So at that point, all of your rods, they're exposed, right? So you just have to, if you're doing it right away, just be careful. But it's not to a point where it will burn you. It's hot to touch. So those are the areas where, and again, Victor, this is more for you. Those are the areas where you would push pin the solenoids, right? Usually you'd have a Sharpie point, a tool or something, and you would push pin those manually, and that would relieve any pressure. So you have one under the machine that's basically in the front, we're near the control panel area. And then when you also have one on the side where the ERAM logic block is, and then there's one on the back of the CRAM, obviously. So you have basically 1, 2, 3. So there are 3 points. So the other thing is to keep in mind, there are a lot of warning stickers, caution stickers. We want to make sure that those are always staying visible. If they get damaged and anything like that, we encourage that you guys replace them on time. So they're there for a reason, and if the person is not aware, it may cause some accidents and stuff, something that you really don't want it to happen. So just make sure that they're always there. So this one is a little more clear. The other one is a aluminum handle. So see this red part? That's the part where you push it out and then the locks go in. But they're exactly the same handles. This one is a little more clear as far as how you would lock it out. So there are some basic terms as far as how we call things in the machine. You probably guys are aware of that. We have a bail, which is the actual bail. Bearings, those are the bearings which the platen carriage rides on. Those are usually the bronze looking pieces. So we have the carriage, which is the main frame that carries the ejection cylinder. So that's the carriage, and it usually follows the platen. So the chamber is the main component of the machine itself. So now we have a clear stroke. Obviously, you all know what a clear stroke is, right? So it goes out just slightly, pushes the waste away, and then comes back. So clear stroke usually has a shear mode option. So with the shear mode, it will go past the knife every time. So then non-shear mode will only take it up to 1 foot in front of the knife and come back. So a clear without a shear mode is obviously faster than the one with the shear. So the shear mode it probably increases the clear stroke by maybe 10 seconds. So now then you have compact stroke, which is obviously it goes out and does a compact stroke. So compact stroke, it also has an option of going with a density mode or a non-density mode. So density mode will only compact as far as it needs to go, no more, no less. So density mode off, meaning it's going to go to full compaction stroke and reach full pressure every time. So if you guys are running dense garbage, so it's not recommended that you have density, it is recommended to have density mode on. So for bulky material, you probably would want to have density mode off. So allow it to go full pressure for it to, to build a good bale. So C-ram, that's a compaction ram, which is the main one in the center. So those are the density mode I just explained. Obviously, the distance measuring electronics, that's your laser. You guys have two lasers, so you can flip, back and forth between the two with a simple push button on the main screen. So if something gets in front of one laser, you can simply switch over to the other and then continue.
Are those lasers protected down there?
They're not really in a spot that they're gonna get beat up, right? They're all the way on the back wall,
Okay.
shooting forward. The only thing that comes up is the reflective panel. You gotta keep that clean, and then when it gets scuffed up, replace it. But the lasers themselves, they're safe.
Yeah, they're way, way back.
If we break those off, we did something really wrong. I'm just letting you know now.
Yeah, that's what you want. No.
We messed up big.
You said it, it's okay.
So E-rams, those are your ejection rams. So their main purpose is to push the bale into the container. So, but they also do compaction strokes. At least the first two will be done with the E-rams. So, but their main is to push the bale into the trailer. So this system does have faults, and usually the faults are major, like a low oil fault, HPU hot fault. So then you have anytime you bump or forget to open the suction valve, that's a fault. All of your E-stops are fault bit. So anything.
Overwinch the that kind of stuff, is that a fault?
What was that?
Overwinch, if it's, is the overwinch thing on there? We had it.
Overwinch?
Yeah.
There's not a winch.
There's no cables and stuff like that.
Yeah, not yet. This one,
main-
there's free of cables.
Main
so-
faults we always see are just the laser faults when something gets in front of one of the lasers. But like you said, you just punch in the other laser, finish that, and then you can, after that's done, you can get in there and clear that off and clean it up.
So the laser fault, so if the fault comes up, you have to reset it, obviously. So in this case, on the laser, you have to flip it over to the other one before you can reset. Otherwise, it'll pop right back up. Yeah, so. Of course, all of the faults, you have to take care of the issue first. So if you have like a low oil fault, obviously it won't reset until you take care of it. So in this case, you have to add oil, cold Victor.
So with the laser, then you have to fix that first one, and then you can switch it over, right?
So, cause you have a laser pointing down each side at it, right? So if you get something in front of the laser you're using, you switch over to the other one, finish either pushing the load out or whatever you're doing. Then you bring it back after it's all clear, then you can, separate the flat and get in there and clean it out.
So he described it accurately. So the second laser is there to not just switch over and continue, because once the second laser is blocked, then you're in the more dire situation. So you want to take care of the first laser as soon as you can. So that makes sense. So you push the bale out, whatever you position it in the safe area, take care of it, and then continue. Because you know, a lot of guys that have, we have few machines out there with 2 lasers, and they run it till they actually get the second one blocked. Then you're, yeah,
Then you're
it's
in the pickle.
totally messed up. You're in the pickle, yeah. So it's better if you take care of it right away.
We had at Victoria when they got the new one in there. One day we kept having a problem, it kept throwing this fault, and we couldn't figure it out. The laser was cleaning everything. Well, one of the back doors, the latch, someone had forgot to do the latch, so it's closed, so it was good, right? When the machine would run, it would vibrate a little bit, and it would bounce out just enough to kill that switch. We couldn't figure it out. Then we finally went back there and closed it, and we were good to go.
Yeah.
So HPU is definitely, it's a hydraulic power unit that sits in a separate room there, just behind the compactor. So that's a hydraulic power unit. It basically supplies oil to your cylinders, and anything that the machine needs to do is basically, it comes from the hydraulic power unit. So home position, we usually refer that to as the machine or the platen carriage be all the way, so gate down and all the way. So that's basically a home position where everything starts from. So anytime you want to build a bale, anything, so for maintenance purposes to like reset the laser, you gotta make sure that it's fully home position before you can do that. So that's what we refer to as it has to be, everything has to be brought back home with the gate down. So that would mean that it's in home position. So knives, you guys have, this machine has a knife on the platen, and it has a knife inside the chamber. So they overlap each other. So when anytime it does a clear with a shear mold, they go past each other. So then compact stroke is obviously would have to go past it. So platen, that's the main component that's in front of the carriage, and platen's function is to compact waste against the gate. So it goes forward and compacts and retracts it. They are 2 separate things. They are separated. So you have a platen carriage, and then when they pull in, so they're pulled in with the ejection cylinder. So the ejection cylinders actually move the platen back and forth. The C-ram moves the carriage back and forth. So Victor, there is a scraper which is located above the carriage, and so it's above the carriage and the platen lids. So that's something that would have to be adjusted also at the same time when you're making your 750 PM, or any time when you make platen carriage adjustments.
Right, like that,
So you have to drop that scraper down too.
like we did at Victoria.
Yeah, so what that eliminates, it will reduce the amount of waste that migrates just behind the carriage that usually accumulates in front of the trunnion there. So that's very important to do that the same. So the scraper is it's a well-built mechanism, but it also helps, or it will help if you when you load the machine, make sure you keep it below the knives. So what you want to prevent is overloading the machine where waste is constantly on the lid. So even if you adjust that scraper, if you constantly load the lid, it literally will wipe it. It will literally wipe that scraper, as in wear and tear, because you have, sand, any tough material will either puncture it will rip the pieces out, literally. Because I've seen rod, any material that the platen can shear, there then becomes a piece of, like a piece of rebar, flat bar And I've seen it, it will literally go in and then it will puncture the scraper. So it's obvious that, again, I encourage you that you guys load it properly and, you know, make sure you have the bucket just perfectly sized to where you push it in and it falls in and it's right below the knife. And when the plant comes out, it has an easier time to do a clear or a compact and doesn't have to fight whatever is in front of the knives, and it has to shear, and then finally it's going to go through it, and you're wasting a lot of time, So, and I saw how you done it before, because we already kind of did a test, was it 3 weeks ago now? So I think you've done it perfect, where he pushes in just the right amount where it goes out, and then there's nothing on the lid. So that's ideal.
You get a cookie. Hey, if you gotta clean it, you know.
Doesn't mean you rushing out here anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing out here, it's kinda nice you have that advantage of being able to just spoon feed it and, you know, as needed, you know, compared to like Bow Lake where you got so much garbage, you trying to get rid of it as fast as you can.
So both Factoria and this machine have variable frequency drives, which Shoreline, I know Shoreline doesn't have it, but the Bow Lake, two Bow Lake machines do also have variable frequency drives. So that's basically a component that reduces your waste energy, you know, it reduces energy, so you're not wasting. And you've noticed that the HPU is really quiet in comparison to like one at Shoreline, because it's constantly running, so it's always running. This machine and the Factoria and Bow Lake, they ramp down to zero. So when the machine is idling, there's literally no power use. So except for the little pilot motor that's always running. So where in this case here, the auto shut off option will basically turn everything off. So for an hour of no use, the machine will literally waste zero energy, like zero. So that's a good thing.
So the HPU on this machine, like you're saying, is the same as Factoria. So that means the speed is the same as well.
Yep. So all the specs between the two, Factoria and this, they're exactly the same.
Yeah, I get a lot of people asking, it's like, well, they say like the one at Factoria, oh, it's so much slower than the ones at Bow Lake, and
So-
because they have different pump on them, I'm assuming.
So the Bow Lake and Shoreline machines, they are different because they have a bigger pump sections. As far as how fast they are, you know, you could see if they are actually faster or not is by simply setting up all of your parameters exactly the same across the board, and then do a comparison. But yes, of course, the Bow Lake machine and Shoreline, they are, and because of the bigger pump sections. So basically right now, this is kind of a general HPU layout, which is almost the same as yours. So you have two main motors, and then you have the pilot motor. So normal operations would have the two main motors shut off when the plant is just idling, so it's not moving anything. So the two main motors are off. This little motor normally would always run. So again, in your case, it's going to be a little bit different. So you can turn it off and turn it on with the radio, and then you also have basically an option. Well, it's not an option right now. It's been installed. So when you're in radio, only when you're in radio, when your selector switch is in radio, and you're using the radio, so that's when the timer starts timing. So when there's no activity, 15 minutes is passed and it will stop the HPU. So then you would have to restart it using your radio, right? So So that option basically will shut off all 3 motors. So at that point, you have 0 energy expense. So, and that's actually good. So because you're not wasting your pump, your motor, because there's a circulation filter there also. So you're further reducing maintenance cost by keeping that HPU off for as long as possible.
You guys just do it based off hours, right? PMs is based off strictly hours? Or is it time as well? Or
I
is,
believe it's ours.
Good morning, everyone. The gates are now open.
Good morning, Candy.
So as far as materials that this machine is built for, so the main material that it's built for is municipal waste, but it can also accept a lot of other material, wood, recyclables, cardboard, and if you guys decide to, you guys probably have the mainstream would be your municipal waste. A lot of other customers of ours, they separately will compact commingle waste or wood waste, and that's just for your information. I'm not, I'm pretty sure you guys are mostly doing municipal waste, but this machine can, accept a lot of other waste. Recyclable material and stuff like that. So, and there's a list of different things that are acceptable and not acceptable. Obviously this right here, car engine gearboxes, steel plates, large scrap metal, ship housers, steel cables, anything that's really solid, as far as like there are some ropes that are really solid, and the machine will literally, if it's not going to shear, it will actually try to compress it and then pull it in. At that time, it's a guaranteed to jam. So just keep an eye on anything of this sort of material.
One of the weird things we actually had at Bow Lake was just kind of, I think it's kind of like Delaware, it's like that white cutting board material. That stuff doesn't shear and it'll jam up. We actually had one over there at Bow Lake that, I think the machine went down for like 2 days while we were trying to dig it out. So if you see thick white plastic like that, it doesn't do well with that either.
I think if you learn to load it right, it will take. And I don't want to say, what you just said is true. It is true. But if you can, a lot of this material you can control, and if you can keep it on the bottom, it will go through just fine. But as long as you keep it on the bottom, and if it's something hard, you don't want to push it in first, where it's going to do a compact stroke and hit your gate. So again, you have to think about the process on how you load stuff that's not really acceptable, but it's still doable if you do it right. So you make sure that if it's something hard, it's in the middle. So you have a cushion in front, and then then you can push it right against this softer material. Then it's doable. But definitely want to keep everything below. So
keep railroad ties would probably be okay as long as it's in the middle of the load. Put it in front of the damn load and don't push off the trailer.
Just no bollards.
Yeah.
But some of the things that you really want to keep away is like a rebar, because or any rope, because they're usually lone. So it's hard to control. So if you see it, it's probably better if you pull it out, because if you don't, it's gonna do some damage.
There's been quite a few times, just that plastic stuff, that was like a 15-foot long section of it, and that's why it got jammed up. But yeah, we're having to cut and dig that stuff out all the time.
So the basic components is you got you got your HMI screen. That's your touch screen that has a lot of information on it. It's got it shows you platen location, constant information on platen distance, the weights, everything. So you have your I think what we'll do is when we do hands-on, I'll run by all of the functions that the control panel has downstairs. It's just easier that way. So here are some of the screens. So you obviously have an animation for a chamber, and then the platen usually will come out, come back, and it's basically almost true to what the chamber is. So when it's at the knife, it actually is at the knife. So it's a fairly accurate translation as far as using the laser information and the animation. So it's a pretty accurate location of the platen in accordance with the chamber. So you also have the trough latch right here. That's basically, when it's down, it's usually green. Yellow means it's kind of in the middle or in between the two positions, and then when it's red, it's latched. So it shows you your fluid temperature, system pressure, power usage, general information. So then you have your HPU screen. So this is the screen where usually you start your day with, and you can use the screen buttons to start and stop your HPU, or there are actually push buttons on the panel that you can use. So sometimes what will happen is, as in with any electronics, the the HMI screen will break or it fails. You can't see anything on it. You could still operate your machine again by starting using the push buttons. So really the only thing you won't be able to see is the information, but you're still able to operate the machine, I would say, safely. It's just that you won't have any information. So
I don't think so, but there's nothing on any of those screens that's about to go in and change. There's no settings in there.
there are parameters, but those parameters is once you set them, they're always there unless you need to change them. So, and I'll show you that screen.
Just real quick, I've noticed on the HPU screen there's the unloader and jog buttons. What do those accomplish?
So basically what they do is they're basically for maintenance. And I'll show you.
I thought you use that jog button if you got like stuck loads, you could use that.
Well, that's what I want to clarify.
So see the jog button on the Harris and the jog buttons on the SSI, they have two different functions. So the one on the Harris, it's like a boost cycle almost. So we don't have that on our system. So on our system, we set up our settings on the relief valves to basically 2600 psi. So once you set your relief valves to that setting, you really can't go any more than what it's already set to. So you could increase it, but you would have to basically play with the relief valves. And the system is designed to work up to 3000. So you could literally, jump it to 3,000, but the normal operation is basically 2,600 psi. That's normal. So what they do is the jog buttons is mainly for maintenance. So if you would want to check your relief valve settings, you would jog the button, so you push it, and it will pressurize the system for you to verify, okay, my relief valve is set to, it's normal. So, or for testing your unloader valves. So you would simply, if your valve is failed and if you jog the button, right? So, and you see there's nothing happening, so that's usually a sign that your unloader valve has failed. So it's more strictly for maintenance, so for the operators, there's no reason for them to play with those buttons, and they're inactive when the maintenance key is off. So when the maintenance key is off, so those buttons, they require to have the maintenance key. So let's say if you do have a jam load and you're or you have a problem where it won't go past the knife. Usually if you go back and forth, 4 or 6 times, it will eventually push right through. And sometimes you will end up pushing a little bit more waste, so that way it's on the bottom and it actually shoves it forward more. So there is a way to undo the jam or whatever, the stock load, by simply just, you have to do it a few times, or possibly add some waste to push it through. So this one also they has some input screens, some output screens for troubleshooting, Victor, that has, like, this one is an input, shows all of your switches, your gate up and down switch, CRAM, ERAM, and all your push buttons. So here's where the weekly, the daily, so like this is on the main checklist. It's actually maintenance checklist, but it refers to more as what you would do, go around, check whatever, look for, oil leaks, remove trash from motors, valves. Well, in your case, your HPU it's in the room, so it's obviously, but it's important to go in there and look for leaks. It's important to go in there and look for leaks.
So we have the forms. So I know that's on the screen. Can that be checked as a means of verifying that it was done?
Yep, you can check it off and it will reset itself next day. So there's no record keeping, it's just simply there for you to verify that you actually did the job. So, and it kind of gives you a weight. Okay, I need to go actually look at certain things. So it's very important to have this, at least have this open, so you can look for those specific things. So the main thing is, I would say, look for leaks in the back of the carriage, and if you see big pieces like plywood, anything big, you really want to take that out right away. You don't want to wait till the end of the day, but just go in and pull it out, because those big pieces will damage the hose track mainly. But if it's a piece of material that's hard, it could literally scarf your rods also. So again, I encourage that you take those pieces out right away. So that's where we have basically the regular scheduled maintenance is the 150, which will come in and do. So you kind of have to look in this area. So if you're within like a 50-hour window, you let us know so we can plan ahead. So this is only done once, so this will go away after 150. This, the 750, you have to do it every time, so every 750 hours. The 3000 is also every 3000 hours. Compaction cylinder, and then you also have ERAM mileage here. This one is for our 2500, but you'll have ERAM bar right here for your ERAM mileage. So that's something for you to keep an eye on, Victor, and then just, you know, let us know when you're near the 750 you would actually take care of it, and so is the 3000. The compaction cylinder rebuilds, some customers come to us. So that probably the compaction rebuild and the ERAM rebuild, you would probably have to invite us, but that's up to you guys also. So.
What is the typical lifespan for those cylinders? Like, what is
10, 15 years if you take care of them. Yeah.
quite a bit.
A lot of, I wouldn't even say a lot. So two things is, especially how you load it. If you overload it, if you introduce a lot of material like rebar, anything that's roofing material that actually once it compresses it, it becomes like a solid bar. And I literally seen chunks inside the machine. I actually saw a few of them at Factoria on my last visit. I pulled them all out. And anything that's, you know, what I've seen happen several times at Factoria, you'll see literally things hanging from the side. And people get they get lazy and they don't pull that stuff out. You have ropes or wire like from, I'm not sure where it comes from, but sometimes from mattresses, but sometimes I think they come in the roll or something. It's a wire that's about an 1/8 inch in diameter, and it's really sturdy. And like I said, I pulled some of it out at Factoria on my last few visits. So anything like that will land on the rod, or it gets just in the right position when the rod extends. And it literally scarfs it. So anything that's loose that you'll see when you're doing the cleanup, it needs to be pulled out. So this is the main screen for your auto setup. You have the weight acceptance, hopper target, compact, target weight, target length. In your case, I don't think I'll have that option here. Oh, there you go, the truck selection. So this machine is actually set up with that screen where you have multiple truck selections you can choose. So at one point you can get them all preset and you simply just select the truck that you're gonna load. So, and we've done some training already, he's aware of that.
What's the purpose of that? The trucks and
It's like
The
in Cold
length of
Lake,
the
we have
trailers.
different size trailers, right? So when you're switching back and forth between trailers, you just hit the button for the right trailer, you know.
Some of them are 58, some of them are, 48 foot, some of them are aluminum trailer.
So it's basically, instead of going to this screen and always changing the parameters, you basically set them up once and you simply just select the truck that you're gonna be loading. And this is where you have your density mode option and shear mode option. So you can either have those off or you can have them on.
I think that density, we'd probably keep that, keep it off, right? Or on on it.
Don't have it on,
Keep
but
it
I'll have
you
it
would
on
wanna
during the
have
week,
it-
and then when
Yeah.
it comes to the weekend, turn it off, that way that public stuff gets packed in there good.
We don't want one of them trailers, because as soon as Monday through Friday, we get commercial garbage, but after Friday at like 2, we don't get any commercial till Monday, so we don't wanna have a compaction in there that won't push out, the ram won't push it out. Right.
Well, if you spoon feeding it though, you should have that problem anytime, right? You just.
Well,
Well, the-
that's different than what the density is. The density's,
If you take the density off, like on the weekend, it's gonna compact it harder, so instead
Yeah.
of getting super light loads, it's gonna pack the stuff in tighter so we can get closer to our goal weight.
So here's what you can do. So you definitely want to have it on for your weekday waste. So that way the machine doesn't have to work as hard. It will finish your bales faster, right? So if you have dense material, there's no reason for it to compact hard. So that will definitely speed things up. On the weekends, if you have that off, if you know you can accomplish what you can as far as weights and the length by simply reducing compaction strokes, then you can do that. But yeah, you're right. If you pack it really, really tight with mini compaction strokes, like if you go, 7 compaction strokes, you'll get it tight, definitely. And you're gonna have some hard time pushing it out.
a lot of times on our weekends, we'll lighten them trailers up instead of pushing 52,000. Hey, we might be pushing
Maybe
47, 45,000 just because it depends on if it's raining out and stuff, it's different, but.
So I mean, how much garbage are you pushing out here on the weekend, pushing the public though, is what I'm saying?
We probably do, like, they probably did 5 trailers on Sunday.
Well, that's because of this though.
No, we're getting more in this, but we'll probably, I think we'd do 1 extra trailer a day on Saturday and Sunday, just because of I'd rather have them pull an extra trailer than worry about that.
So in this case, it's your machine, so you can do what you feel is right. So again, it's just as long as you know what the function is, then yeah, it's up to you guys. So we're definitely not here to tell you if you can use it or not, but as long as you know what the functionality of it is, and yeah. So the advantage of density mode having on is that you will get the bales out faster because it doesn't have to go as far, because obviously on a full compaction stroke it's going to go all the way, and it does take a little bit longer for it to get up to the pressure before it starts actually going back. But when the density mode is on, it strictly calculates, okay, I'm just going to go this far and no more. So and it simply goes that far and comes back. So instead of going to like 2,000 psi, it could only go maybe 1,000 or 1,600 psi. So it's a faster process if you have density mode on. And same thing with the shear mode. So when the shear mode is on, it goes out extra foot. So that's the extra foot that it needs to go out. So this one is obviously the e-stop. This will automatically come up, so you don't have to search which e-stop is actually been pushed in. It will show you on the screen, and you simply have to go then and reactivate the e-stop. So you do have 2 access doors on the side. They're not actually in the back, they're on the side here. So you have 2 on the back on each side where you can access to get in with 2 safety switches. Then you have 2 e-stops on each side. So there is a panel on each side. They have e-stops there. And then you have 2 e-stops on the front and then 1 on the HPU. And 1 on the radio. So Victor, this is more for you. Anytime, so this one has a Hardy screen for your scale. So anytime you you have an issue with the scale system, or you replace the load cell, you have to do a calibration and do a zero out. So that would be done on this screen. You have to go through several screens. You have to go HPU and then into maintenance and then the Hardy screen. So those are the suction valves and you got 3 of them. Those are your main suction valves for all 3 motors. You kind of have to keep, just be careful, like when you do a general walk around, if you look for things, if you even slightly bump it, it will, disengage that switch and you're gonna, like, what just happened? But eventually, a good thing that it's a fault, so you'll actually get a fault right away before you even start your system. But there are 3 suction valves on the HPU. So there's obviously a process before startup. That's your daily inspection that it has to be done. Whether it's with a check mark or if it's a general walkthrough, you have to make sure it's done before you start the machine. And to me, the first thing that when I'm going around looking for things is obviously leaks, and I think the next one is anything inside the carriage. So if you have any big pieces there, you just pull them out right away. But obviously, if anything, the other things that you gotta look is for loose fasteners, anything like that, especially when you're doing a cleanup inside. That's also a good time to do it. Is while you're cleaning, make sure you're looking around for anything that's loose. So after you've done your daily inspections, obviously after removing your lockout, tag out, and the other thing is to keep in mind that each person has to put their own locks. If there are 2 people, there should be 4 locks on it. So 2 per 1 breaker. So, obviously making sure that there's no one left in the machine, everybody's out. You would then, turn on your system. And while it's running, do a quick walk around while it's running to hear for anything that's not normal, as far as some noises that you could see or hear that it's generating that's not normal. So just kind of do a quick walk around while it's running, and then maybe do a compact or a clear. And after that, it's basically ready to for a normal operation.
Obviously we go down, start it up in the morning, and we can start and stop it from the loader.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, let's say the guy turns it off, you're still supposed to go down and turn it off at the unit itself, right? Because I want to get away from somebody turning off here and then get someone just get back in the loader and turn it back on again and just start running.
So the normal procedure is downstairs you have a key switch. So at the end of the day, when everything is done, you should have the key switch in off position.
Okay, so I'm making sure.
Just gonna ask that. So if that key switch is off on the panel, they can't remotely start it up here?
No, because you gotta activate that MCR, the master control reset, and that's the one that monitors for anything that could be wrong in the system. Any e-stops, anything like that. So yes, you will have to, at the beginning of each day, you have to turn on the key switch and reset your MCR. Once that is done, then you can remotely start the machine. So anything that's like an e-stop, even at the radio or an e-stop anywhere around the machine will require you to calm down, because at that time the MCR is not reset, so you can't start it. So you have to go in and reset the MCR. Any fault, again, like a low oil fault, will require you to go down and inspect it. So you can only use the radio, and the system won't allow you to use it in any other way if it's not safe. So if it's a fault, you have to go down and reset the fault. So it will require you to go down. You can't just restart it. So under normal conditions, it will allow you to restart, and so it will allow you to stop and restart if everything is good with the machine. If there's something wrong, you won't be able to restart it. So in your case, again, it's just a little bit different as far as how you can start and stop the machine. You really have basically two options. You can do it downstairs, or you can do it with the radio. But in the beginning of the day, you have to turn on the key switch and do an MCR reset.
In the power saving mode, you got it set for 15 minutes, right? 15 minutes and it shuts off if it's not being used.
So it's not really a power save mode. It's an auto shut off is basically what it is, because it's in the safe mode or power save mode all the time, because it has VFD drives. So it will ramp down on its own. It's basically an auto shut off in addition to the power safe mode. That's obviously, once it's off, it's even more power safe than when it's running. But in general, the VFD drives is what brings in the power save mode fact, right? So it's the VFD drives. But the additional auto shut off, that's basically just to completely turn off the HPU. So there's a kind of a little bit about the bale building process. You have an auto versus manual. So obviously in auto, it will build a bale to your specs. So if you enter the specific parameters for your bale weight or the bale length, the machine on its own, all you have to do is just feed it. On its own will build a bale, and it will give you a load ready based on the parameters you gave it. So it's basically either or. So if the weight is met first, it'll give you the load ready based on weight. If the length is made first, then it will give you a bale ready based on length. If you're interrupted, like if you push something in, it's not going to shear it or clear it, you retract it, then you can simply put it back in auto. So we recommend that you run it in auto and only intervene if you have to, right? But then you also have an option to run it in manual. Especially if you have on the weekends, you probably would want to run it in manual. So meaning that he will initiate a clear, and he will also initiate a compaction stroke when it needs to be. So once you run it in auto, you will have to give it a load ready. Then at that point, it doesn't know, so you have to give it a load ready when you're running it in auto.
Just like the amp app was, we didn't.
And then automatic.
It was all manual.
Yeah.
So when it's an auto, right, it's like, I'm assuming it's the same thing. So if it's an auto and you get interrupted, like you say, something happened, machine go down, whatever, you start it back up again, it knows, right? What to push.
There's been times or whatever that it'll kind of lose some information, but most of the newer ones, they pick right back up where they're at. Vashon's the only one that has a problem really losing its memory.
Yeah, the Vashon it's really old. Yeah.
3 bales or whatever.
Yeah, 3 bale machine.
So.
But yeah, in this case, the machine will know exactly where. So if it was it was doing like a compaction stroke. You simply do an auto start, and it will continue doing the compaction stroke. So it will remember what it was doing if something happens. You know, if it shuts down due to low oil fault or e-stop, whatever. So once you get it reset, you simply do an auto start, and it will continue doing what it was doing.
Is this one gonna run on generator or no?
Uh,
If we're out of power?
I'm assuming it's set up on the.
No,
For,
the last one wasn't, I thought that we
Yeah,
could,
the
but
last
it
one
was
wasn't.
it was just for the power, it wasn't enough for the compactor, so.
So I think that's a good question for Sid here, as far as if it's. I don't know.
Yeah.
You'll
So,
see it was still,
I don't think it's on generator, but
I don't think it would be.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of juice.
yeah, it consumes a lot of energy, so you'd have to have a pretty big size generator to cover that. So. But again, I do, like I said, for normal use, especially maybe during the week, it's better if you run it in auto. Just, you know, set up your parameters for your hopper clear, you know, like, I don't know, 1,500, 1,000.
I think we were doing 2,000 the other, when we tested it.
So
And
you-
that was kinda, well, with this garbage out here, we could probably go up to 2,500, but it just has more clear
Yeah.
strokes and.
Yeah. So you basically set your clear hopper target weight, and then all of your main weight, and then your main target length, and you simply, just like I said, just load it, and it will do clear when it needs to do clear. Then when it will do compact when it knows when to do a compact. So it will literally just build a bale as long as you just feed it. So it's definitely a fast process if you do it with the auto mode. So you know, we actually do recommend things as far as how things should be done. Like, see this manual mode. So. And you can actually go through this and check this out. So for this manual mode, let's see here, a single. So this is for, like, you would want to have the finished bale length, bale target weight, density mode on, compacts per bale, 3 compacts, and usually that's general, 3 to 4, and then shear mode off. And this would also be about the same for auto, but either way, in general, you know, up to 4 compacts. And I think I'm telling truth, right, when I say that.
I
3
think
to 4.
I think it's set at 3 compacts right now.
So, and that's a safe way of making sure that you don't get a stock load. So, you know, because in general, 3 compacts, that's pretty good for 32-foot bale, something like that. So I would say keep it no more than 4.
It's not the automatic would be if you just have perfect garbage, right? You just, you know, then you can use automatic, but if, like, so you get all kind of crap coming in here, you wanna kinda see what you're pushing in there.
Well, you can still run it automatic, you just have to be
You
a
can
little
just
bit more
reverse it,
situationally aware, you know?
Right.
Pay attention to what you're doing, mix stuff up if you need to.
or you could hit reverse, and
Yeah.
when it's going, you could just hit.
That's true.
But yeah, overall, I think in general, just number 1 is just try not to overload the lid. So just keep it below the knife. If you'll do that, you'll see that you'll eliminate a lot of unnecessary stops, jams, and stuff like that. Just make that a priority, and I think you guys will be better off. I know sometimes it's not possible, but in general, try to do that. Don't make it a normal to constantly just overload it. It's not right. And again, we recommend not to overload the lid. So just if you you know, consider that, I think you'd be better off. But don't make it normal where you constantly can that it's just not right. So again, there's ways sometimes you can go, but if just please consider not overloading. So again, I know that your waste a lot of times, if it's especially on the weekends, it's bulky, and you'll push something in that yeah, it will be non-shareable, but don't make it a normal. So I just we've got some faults here. I'm just gonna kind of go through those real quick. The general ones, the more often ones that you'll see is obviously the laser fault. And again, that will increase based on how you load it. If you top load it, if you load the lid, meaning the stuff will penetrate just like especially between the platen and the carriage. That increases when you have stuff on the lid. It will migrate and give you a laser fault. So, but you know, it's one of those things that material, you know, it's just even a plastic bag. Once it hits that and it blocks, and then you're done. So. Sometimes you'd have a fold 2, and then a lot of those the fold 2 is actually, that's how it's displayed on the reader board. So then if you go down to the control panel and look on the HMI, it'll actually give you the actual description. So, you know, we have a motor 1 VFD fault, and then that's usually something, if there's something wrong with the actual component, with the variable frequency drive, it will give out a fault. Sometimes you actually have to go down to the HPU room, right, to identify what the actual fault is. So if you do have a motor 1 or a motor 2 VFD fault, it's always good to walk back and probably take a picture. Right? There's a little
Little screen there.
yeah, a little screen there with a keypad, and it will actually display the actual code. So it's always good if you can take a picture before you try to do a cycle. Again, I'm not sure what your procedure is, whether you would attempt to fix it or you simply, again, just call. Okay, so for you, Victor, it's always best if you can document what the actual fault is. And usually by cycling power, we'll take care of those faults. So usually just by simply cycling power.
Right.
So you have like a hot oil fault, that will usually kick in right at 165. So anytime the HPU temperature is over 165 or 170, it will give you a hot oil fault. So that will shut down the HPU, and it won't allow you to start it. The fan will actually spin, so we're going to try to cool it for 15 minutes before it allows you to restart it. So if you do have a hot oil fault, usually that's because the fan wasn't working for some reason, or the exhaust fans on your they're not working and your air is not cycling. So the kind of two things to look for if you do have problems with hot oil faults. So is that HPU room heated in the winter time?
No,
Uh,
I don't think it is. Is it?
I think when that machine's running, like it was always warm in there from when we had the amp ab in there, you know, the motor in there.
Mm-hmm.
It was always probably,
Insulated enough to keep it
yeah,
warm
it's
in there
like
overnight.
that oil running in there, it was always pretty warm in there.
And it would be probably the same with this machine, although so overnight when you turn everything off, the HPU is literally, it's off. So if it was like a cold night, you may get a cold oil fault in the morning briefly. And basically it'll allow you to start it, and the machine is going, or the HPU will try to keep it, warm it up a little bit before before you can actually move things. So it will allow you to start it, but it won't allow you to do like a normal operation, like a clear or compact,
Yeah.
until it warms up. So
That's like Vashon. Vashon's like that. You got a warming
Vashon
machine.
only takes an hour for that thing to warm up.
Yeah.
So in this case, even Vashon, it's got heaters on, tank heaters. So this machine and so all the other ones, there are 2 tank heaters on the HPU. The only problem may be is that if the breaker is tripped or the fuse is burned out, obviously. But in general, it usually takes about 10, 15 minutes to warm it
At
up.
Bull Lake, everything's
I
inside.
think
So
Vashon.
we started us up at Bull Lake
Because
and
they had problems with
Yeah,
it.
no
Cooked
problem, we
oil
just
in
keep
there one
going.
time, so I think it just disconnected.
I guess the little one, I think, sometimes I think it'll work if the oil level is low too. If it's low, he just don't come on for some reason over there.
The reason why I bring this up is because I've noticed that you have an open bay there, right? Because
Yeah.
the cold air will get in, so the ambient temperature on cold nights may affect it. So
Well, we could roll that has a door on it too. We could roll that door
Close
down.
it down at night.
Yeah. In the wintertime, in the summertime when it's hotter, we keep it cooler by keeping that open, you know.
Hey Slug,
yeah,
like at Bull Lake, they don't like the doors open, even if it gets hot in that room, you know, the one at the HPU.
yeah.
Is it the same with everywhere? They want all that heat enclosed?
What I think they wanted to do is keep it airtight because of the dirty air to get in. So because that's the purpose, I think. But if it's properly ventilated and everything, that it's fine if the doors are closed. It's also to reduce noise, obviously.
Right.
It generates a lot of noise if
Those
there's
temperature things on the side of the machine, they always say like 98.
So that's your inside temperature of the motor starter panel. I know what you're talking
You know
about.
what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
They're always
So-
way high.
Well, that's actually for the VFD drive to operate normally. It can go up to 120, 140 actually, and be fine. So, and you can always reduce the temperature requirement down to like 78 or something, but there's no reason. So, because what that does is that your AC unit will constantly be running, but the 98 temperature, that's fine, it's normal. So you have some other ones, the CRAM limit switch fault. You have HPU pressure fault. Usually that happens if it gets over 3,000 PSI. So you have platen separation. So platen separation is one of the ones that you will probably experience at some point. That's when in auto or when you have a cycle going. So when you're retracting and your platen separates for any reason and it can't pull itself together, it will give you a platen separation fault. So that would mean there's usually waste or something, in between the two components where it can't pull, close enough to engage the proc switches, right? So, but in general, again, if you don't top load the lid, that's also reduced. So again, it will help you guys out by not having more laser faults or platen separation faults if you keep it below the lid. So Victor, this one is gonna be, it's not a common, but we ran into this before at Factorio already, the communication fault, which followed by the auxiliary fault and probably by a low oil fault. Yeah. And so, but usually when a communication fault comes up, that's pretty much the Cat5 cable, which between the several units, the main PLC, the remote PLC on the motor starter, and then the remote PLC on the control panel. So usually that's where the problem would be, is the Cat 5 cable. So radio control, and we're definitely going to be using the radio control here at this station. So that's basically a basic, it's a Hatronics 12-channel radio. We've shipped to this location like a generic holder. I don't know if you guys received any or not. They're basically for those radios, so you would put them inside your loader, and you.
I haven't seen it. Have you seen it, Henry?
Is it like the one they got in Factoria? That little.
Actually, let me see if I can find the picture. The Factoria doesn't have it. I think we've shipped it here according to the contract. Nathan realized later that we should have included that. But I'll show you a picture of how it's. But right now, so it's got few basic functions on this radio. So you have clear, compact, system auto, load ready, and retract shut. So you literally have a full control of the compactor when you're running it using the radio, and you can always interfere, or if there's an issue you need to stop, then you can use the radio to do so. Then you can reactivate the system auto by simply pushing the system auto button. There's another button on the side here that will allow you to stop the HPU. So you have two functions, just like on the HMI, if you remember. There's a start button and a stop button. Same thing here. This will start your HPU, and then the one on the side here, the middle button, will stop the HPU. So start and then stop. And then everything else is normal. You're clear, compact, load ready, and then retract shut. And then it's your e-stop. I would recommend you guys charge your batteries daily. I think it's like it can last up to 2 days, but just
We have to charge it downstairs because that plug-in, the bag's behind your computer there, and it didn't really have a 110 plug-in for that. It was that we noticed.
yeah. Yeah. Just
You know,
like
it's
on the
not a one-
Factoria one, they put in their own part number.
Oh, they
It's
did.
their own part, so we're gonna have
Yeah.
to take it back and get you the right one.
So we'll just have to change batteries out until.
I'll order one tonight and
Okay.
have it shipped, and I'll take this one with me. So you'll have one, the right one, in the next few days.
Okay.
So this one kind of has, you have two options. You have a fast charge and a regular charge. But again, just charge them regularly. I would say you guys would be safe. But generally, they last about 2 days. So this is more for maintenance, guys. I want to cover that. I do want to cover this. So just in general, so like when you guys do a clean out, so you literally just keep an eye, like look, just grab one or two of those to see if they're actually loose or tightened. But usually visually you'll be able to see if they're tight or loose. And that's something that doesn't require no tools. You simply, when you're crawling around, just simply look, at and this is a collar for your main cylinder. So this is your main cylinder rod. And you'll be able to identify that once you're inside the machine. But just look for stuff like that, in general. If there's a loose bolt, just let someone know right away. You know, stuff like this. So those super nuts, right? That you have them on the ERAM cylinders, and this is your main. So all of this is in plain view. It's visible. So when you're inside, grab it and feel it if it's loose or not. So it doesn't take much. And if if you notice it, this will save a whole bunch of downtime if you catch that in time. Just imagine this one comes loose and that one comes loose, and now this trunnion eye is basically simply loose, and that CRAM will start moving, and at some point it's gonna do some damage that's just gonna be beyond. So again, for the maintenance guys, they do that on their weekly, monthly inspections, but for you to, again, simply just by touching that, you can catch something that that will prevent further damage to the machine. So Victor, this is kind of for like oil samples. When you take oil samples, this is kind of gives you a direction on what exactly you have to do based on the results. And what we're really looking for is the ISO levels, right? So we want to be kind of in this range, pretty much, because especially with the pumps, being that they're a vane pump, it requires for the oil to be a lot cleaner. So this is our kind of our target level. So and there are some forms I'll show you here shortly. So those are the forms that we have in the book, and you want to keep the master copy, but and again, I don't know, Victor, if you guys have your own program that you follow, or you use our forms. Whatever you do, just have to make sure that you keep a record.
I think, like I said, Victoria, they have a big binder that they have a bunch of those that they fill out daily, binder.
Yeah, especially, we usually would require to see that if there's an issue with the, yeah, exactly. So if there's an issue with a cylinder or something, a cylinder got damaged, so we would, of course, we'll go to those forms to see if the maintenance was done, right? So that would be the first thing that we would be looking at. So it's very important to have all those filled out and kept in a safe place. So okay, so since we're here, so Victor, this is the startup manifold for the pilot pressure, right? So just for troubleshooting purposes is, obviously if you have an issue with the pilot's, pressure not coming up, usually it'd be something along with this here in this area, or the actual pilot motor. So that this is located on the top, and you probably already know it's the same as what the Victoria machine. All those components are in the same place. So it's important also, and I think this is for a cleanup crew or any operators that do normal clean out. Again, I don't know how dusty that environment gets in the HVU room. Maybe once in a while you will end up blowing the fins out on the fan, right? So that's something that you probably want to do once in a while, even though it is enclosed. But those the heat exchanger coil fins, they will get clogged up over time.
So it's not too bad, but once Victoria suck, they get dirty, don't they? Real dirty.
Yeah, that's one I think is right there, right behind the machine. I mean, this one is too, but it's just.
It don't get as bad.
So that's where so this is the laser. This is the actual laser. Again, it's located on the very far back of the machine. And it does have a cover, so the laser sits under the cover, so it does have some protection over top of it. Then what usually gets damaged or scarfs is the target itself. So that will get scarfing on it, or a bag, a plastic bag or something that gets in between the two components will cover that. And so you simply switch over to the other laser and try to eliminate or fix the problem right away.
We got some extra ones, little reflective things.
Yeah, we should have a whole, they're just reflective
Yeah.
stickers, there should be a ton of them laying around. I think you probably have to call stores, I don't carry any on me, but I know Factory's got a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, they usually try stock. Yeah, I kind of watch what they order, and they always have a safety stock of the reflective sheets.
Slowly.
Yeah,
Why'd they go away from the joystick? Ours is a joystick load, and now they got the push buttons on the Factory.
Because they don't hold up.
People think the
because-
harder you push it, the faster the ram will move.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a
You guys lean on them.
That's like that one that was on that old machine down here, that thing is pretty stout.
Yeah.
That's a high one.
King County is pretty good about ordering a whole bunch of joysticks. They always used to order them. Well, now they stopped because obviously the push button is a lot more sturdier. The problem that we've seen customers or operators will do is they'll use a bungee cord. And they simply just walk away from it, and
I know who did that. Not me.
well, it's throughout. Not only you guys, but every site I go to, they've done it.
Yeah.
That's pretty lazy.
So-
Yeah, I never heard of it.
So this is basically a general layout. This machine is kind of, you'll know right where everything is at. The HPU is right behind. The control panel is right here, so you get truck latch, and that's pretty much how your machine sits here right now. So pretty basic layout. It's actually, I was telling my guys down at the shop, this machine fits in here quite well. It's actually, it sits really nice in there. Especially that it's new right now. All the bright orange colors and,
Other than cleaning it, that wall, you guys leave no room to clean those things to the back end. Ours is bad enough on the one of ours, but we got room. At least we got room to put a tub in the back,
Yep,
push out stuff. You had no access doors to the back.
Again, if
That's
you
why-
put too much shit in there, it shouldn't get that much back there, right?
No, it will, no
It
matter
still will.
what. You can't avoid it.
Just like Bull Lake, a lot of times you got so much piled up, you end up kinda like Factoria too, you get so built up, it sloughs off into there, you can't avoid.
No, you're gonna have to clean the back. It's gonna be hard to clean that back in.
That's the difference between, like here and Bull Lake or Factoria and stuff like that, is we're not processing near as much, right, so we have a lot more control
Well,
over
that's what I'm
here.
saying, if you keep it below like he said, then there should never be nothing that's gonna fluff back there,
I'm
right?
talking, you have limited room, right, like Friday night I was at Bull Lake, the garbage was all the way past the end of the wall.
Oh, yeah,
So
I
it's
get
piled-
that,
it's
yeah.
piled- you only have so much room, so your pile's right there next to the hole, right, so as you're pushing
Oh,
in,
yeah.
it's a little bit sloughing off, off the pile.
So if you can control it, yeah, as far as how you push stuff in, if you can control it like here, you have a way of controlling it. So it's always best to keep it under the lid. You just keep it under the lid. So, and you just have to try your best. So I know the compactor is designed to shear. It's designed to shear, but you need to try a limit. So. Again, it's a plus for upkeep time. Your machine will not be down for as long. Then your maintenance cost obviously will increase if it has to shear more. I mean, think about it. So every time it shears, it puts down pressure on your carriage shoes, your platen shoes. So that means they're going to start wearing out faster. So and the clear stroke or compaction stroke slows down. when it has to shear. So there's a lot of things that come into calculate, into mind when you're trying to run it hard. So you just, yeah, it's a big plus if you can limit on how much you push it.
Well, yeah, it helps us too, and that's why I don't get. There's a lot of guys that just load as fast as they can. But if you take the extra 10 seconds each push, it makes sure you get, like you said, less wear and tear. There's gonna be less garbage in the back. You're gonna have to stop less times for laser faults.
I'll tell you something else just real simple. It may not sound like much, but when you tell somebody not to load the lid, they're literally thinking not loading the lid, right? They're thinking that. But when you put all the garbage in and the shit shear, that's loading the lid because it's just coming, because it's shearing, and that's what's getting back there. That's why I say if you don't have it up there at all.
Oh no, there's some guys that they'll put enough in to fill that hole to the
That's
top.
what I'm saying. And
They'll do a 10,000-pound push into that hole.
And you can see it. You can see the damn garbage.
Yeah.
Just
That's
starting
the
to fall
problem.
down.
You're never gonna avoid the little bit that gets sheared off, right? I mean, the machine can handle that. It's but when you got 2,000-3,000 pounds of extra stuff on top of the lid, it's just gonna that wiper is gonna get pushed up. Everything's gonna get in the back.
The problem is, you can train so many people. If this place was limited to people that worked here, they would get it. But you got so many people coming in, operating. Everybody operates differently. Some people get it, some people don't. And that's what the problem is. You got a lot of overtimers coming in here, running the machines.
Not anymore.
And
You're out of here.
you're out of here. And they don't think about
But
it.
you see, it's interesting though, our training that we provide is the same for all sites.
Right.
So
Yeah,
it comes down to,
It's a lazy mentality.
yeah,
That's what it is.
yeah.
They're not paying
don't
attention to what's
care.
in their bucket.
Yeah.
No, you
They're not really operating.
This is your site. You're here. You tell people to come in here. They don't, because it's the reason that Amp lasts as long as it did. Because the people that's out here, a lot of seniority, so they control. You can't stop everything, but
Right.
in that bullet you really can't, right? Because it's always somebody different there. But somewhere like here, that should be real easy. Be like, hey man, we don't. So there's something you push in. That's it.
Right.
Right, Mayo's right. Really, better clean that crap up.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
You
Like
jam
I said,
that load,
overtimers
the
come,
guy
they don't
on the
care if
loader's
back
gonna
is
go
filled with
clean
garbage
it out.
'cause
I ain't
they're
right.
gone the next day.
Right?
Right.
So so I'm basically done with here in class training. If you guys have any more questions, if you have them, please ask. If not, we'll go down and do hands-on training real quick and then start operating.
Where's the stop here? I don't even know where. I never even.
The what about it?
The Mercy stop button. Like at factories against the